Oh, hey, hello! Welcome to a commentary for a collection of scrapped Flipnote animations, which was a video I published in 2022 to my archive channel. And yeah, this was basically just a video, a big long video I made to document all of the animations I made in Flipnote Studio back when I had my old YouTube channel, Calico Animation Studios. All the ones of those I never finished and scrapped, but never archived, which is basically just what I'm saying in the actual video itself right now, so I probably didn't need to mention that. But production on this video was, oh god, it was a pain. Um, I had been planning on making a video about scrapped flip notes that I had as early as maybe around late 2019. But at the time it was just like an idea because I was like, oh, I probably need to I really want to finish covering this because I've only talked about like four of the animations that I never finished. But it was just an idea because I had school going on. I had other projects I wanted to work on at the time as well, so I wasn't really thinking about it. But then 2020 comes around and the pandemic comes down, lockdown happens, and I have a lot more free time at home since, it was online school and everything was just kind of messy at the time. So, I had a lot of free time on my hands, so I was like, hey, I could finally get around to doing that video on the scrap flip notes that I really wanted to do. So that was the very first iteration of this project, which at the time I was calling a collection of scrapped Calco Animation Studios animations. And I started that around, I want to say April 2020, and it was just mainly meant to be like a small little project I would do in my free time. The main difference of that version of the video was that there was no voiceover. All it literally was, it was honestly bordering on just being a PowerPoint presentation. There would just be text on screen that explains what all the animations were about and stuff. And yeah, and it was so because of that, it ended up being a lot shorter than this final video. It was I think it was only like 10 minutes long or so, or something like that. But anyways, yeah. So I worked on that for a while. And yeah, it just was not as good as this final version I made 2 years later. Like I said, no voiceover, just a whole bunch of text. It was nowhere near as detailed and in depth. And honestly, the quality of the export animations were not great because I exported it directly from the 3DS. Because there's an option where you can save it to your photo library, so I did it that way. But the quality of that just looks really awful, so it wasn't that great. And I basically finished it to an extent, but when I watched it back, I realized I just was not happy with how it turned out. I had edited the whole thing in 240p at a really low quality, and at the time, I thought if I wanted to fix that, I was going to have to start all over. Turns out that's probably not actually the case. But at the time, I was like, oh, that's not great. But even then, I also realized, okay, now that I'm looking back at this really isn't that good. I really just want to make a voiceover version of this in the future to make it much higher quality. So I kind of put it on the sidelines for the moment, and I would return back to it later because I kind of wanted to work on something different in the meantime. But then the rest of 2020 happened, and that fall 2020 semester of school was really bad for me. I had so much difficulty with it, to the point where I almost I was in danger of failing my class and not being able to graduate. So that sucked. And it also didn't help that in fall 2020 I was working on my audio video production class. I was working on a project that was like a VHS Google Classroom guide. And that was just exhausting to work on. I struggled so much with doing that. I was way too ambitious with it. I think I ended up submitting it 2 months after the deadline. So I just suffered from huge burnout from that year. And from pretty much until my graduation from high school, I was just not working on any sort of creative projects, just huge burnout from that. And I didn't really come back to it until my after my fall 2021 semester of college. I did two creative projects there that I thought were really fun to do. And that kind of helped me out of my burnout. And then in 2020, and then I did so badly in my fall 2021 semester that I decided to drop college for the moment and just focus on improving myself. So I had a lot of free time. Pretty much all I had going on at that time was just my part-time job. So I had a lot of free time. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this time and actually really commit to working on my archive project stuff. But despite what you might think, I didn't start out working on this video right here. The first thing I wanted to do was the Calco Animation Studios Remaster Collection, where I was going back to all of my old flip notes that I actually finished and like remastering them because I really wanted to make like a definitive version of those. Like, have the flip notes export in a high quality, touch up some of the drawings to where like some of the like mistakes and like open lines and stuff were fixed, better quality audio, stuff like that. It was just something I was really passionate about because I really wanted to make like a definitive version of those. But the thing about that was I worked on that for like, geez, I want to say like almost half a year or so. And then in like July of 2022, I was like, okay, I've been working on this for like the entire year, and the end is nowhere near in sight. I don't know when I'm going to finish this. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to work on the other Calco Animation Studios archive stuff first, and then finish up this remaster collection as like the last Calco Animation project I archived on the channel. So because of that, the first project in line was all the scrapped animations for the channel, and of course that would make these Flipnote animations first up on the chopping block. So yeah, I decided this is what I was going to work on first, and yep. Uh, starting out for this video, a lot of stuff carried over from that 2020 iteration of the project. I mean, I pretty much started completely over. Like I didn't like keep any of the same. I just started from scratch, different script and stuff. But a lot of things did carry over. Like the music choices, like for example, Ponyville right here. It's playing the New Super Mario Bros. Theme in the background. In the original video, I also used New Super Mario Bros. Music, but I used the Siva Gunner remix where it's like, edited to where it's like the melody is just the Flintstones melody. Uh, and I used those instead of the official versions in that version of the video because since that video was just music because there's no voiceover, I was kind of worried about like getting copyright claims on that video from like Nintendo or something. So I decided I was just gonna use Silva Gunner remixes, but in this version, since I have voiceover and there's stuff in the background, I figured, you know what, I'll just use the official version. It's fine, it's whatever. Um, yeah, speaking of music, the Ponyville theme there, man, that was so stupid. I actually composed that myself. All I really had in my head from like when I first worked on Ponyville back in 2016, I was just the melody. Like that's the same melody I had in my head at the time in 2016, which was "Follow the rainbow and follow your dreams." But I didn't have like any sort of instrumental or something, so I just kind of I had a little bit of experience of composing music because I had like experimented with making my own song covers. Most of them I ended up scrapping because I was just not happy with them. But yeah, I just kind of composed it myself, and you know what? Even though it's extremely stupid and it's not like, it's not like a technical like showcase of my music composing capabilities or anything, but I'm kind of happy with how it turned out. I think that was kind of cool. Yeah. Anyways, back to what we're talking about with the stuff carried over from the 2020 iteration. A lot of the same jokes, a lot of the same like the simple presentation of stuff on the black background, stuff like that carried over, but for the most part, everything like it was pretty much all completely different. Um, Especially like the way I edited this and presented the visuals, because the editing for this was genuinely really exhausting to work on. The first step for this project, for the editing part, was I wanted to figure out how I want to present like drawings and stuff. I wanted to have like an avatar of myself. That way I can have like on-screen representation of myself and have some sort of visuals on screen whenever there's nothing going on. That way, like, oh, if there's nothing I really want to show here, I can just have the avatar there. But, I really wanted to like make an improvement or evolution on my art. Because I've pretty much stuck with the same old Flipnote avatar art style. Not Flipnote avatar, what am I saying? Stick figure drawings my whole life, the rounded head, round body, and then stick arms, stick legs. I've stuck with that my whole life. But I've always really wanted to like, especially since 2020, I really wanted to improve on that and improve my artwork. But I could never really figure out how to. Like, I don't even really know where to start, and that was always really stressful to me. And eventually I just kind of realized, wait, what if I just purposefully go with like a very simple design of an avatar, just like literally the base of how I draw all my characters? And I could make a self-aware joke about that. That's why at the beginning there's that, oh, hello, Mr. Placeholder avatar design here. Because that was really just only made because, I was kind of thinking it might be a placeholder until I thought of a better design. But I didn't end up doing that because I just realized, this works a lot better. And, since I was kind of self conscious about my art not really improving, I just decided, hey, I can just draw everything in Flipnote because, Flipnote drawings always look kind of rough because they have that pixelated look. So if I just draw everything in Flipnote, that kind of, it kind of masks how rough my line art is because it kind of adds that Flipnote term to it. And plus, it even fits with like the theme of the video. Like it fits with the aesthetics of, Flipnote animations. So that ended up working really well for me. And I also wanted to do this wobbly effect that you can see on like all the drawings that I made. That was like some sort of effect that I don't remember what video I learned it from, but it's basically you make a drawing, then you make a second frame of the animation that's just tracing over the same drawing, but it'll be slightly off, so it kind of gives you that wobbly effect. And I really wanted to do that because not only does that kind of mask the my low quality art capabilities a little more, but it also makes it to where the avatar is kind of like moving a bit. So it's more visually interesting when like the only thing on screen is the avatar and it's like, oh, he's moving instead of just like a static pose like the Sir Calco videos were. Yeah, I was really happy with that. So I ended up going with that. And then there were a lot of segments where I just had to draw drawings of like other characters, like right here where I'm drawing Colin and Hydrogen Man. I didn't want to make like high quality art of that because that would have taken. There were like over 100 different like sketches like that throughout the video that I needed to draw. So I thought, hey, to work around that, I would just do like these very purposely simple, like crappy looking drawings, like these, where it's like dot eyes, like purposely you can tell I didn't polish up the drawings; they're very rough looking. But yeah, so not only does that add charm to like how the video looks and stuff, with the silly looking drawings that look like purposely bad, but it also was time effective for me because it would have taken me forever if I tried to polish every single one of those sketches in the video. So yeah, ended up working out really well. It was a little bit tricky to figure out how I was going to get these flip notes into the video itself. If you didn't already know, obviously Flipnote Studio does not have the option for transparent backgrounds. So I had to figure out how to get that in the video. So what I did is there's an option to like have different, like three different layers to your Flipnote animation. So what I did, I would draw every single individual character, and then I would make the color of the drawing white, and then I would go to like the bottom layer and then like fill that in completely with green. And basically, I would export that into DaVinci Resolve, which was my editing software, and then just do a green screen where I took out the green, and now it's basically a transparent character. Yeah, worked out pretty well. I think you can see like for some drawings, you can probably see like very slight like green after effects or like particles on it, especially when characters are zoomed in, because it's not perfect. But it ended up working really well for this video. Um, I mentioned earlier that it was hard to get flip notes in a good quality because for some reason when you export Flipnote animations directly from your 3DS, the quality just looks really rough. Like there's a lot of like it's very fuzzy. There's like some after like particles and like it's just weird, especially considering like why does it look so bad whenever it's exported directly from the system? So I had to do like a bunch of research to figure out the best way to do that. And what I ended up finding was that there's some sort of website that somebody made that's called like Rakudira like Flipnote player. And all you have to do is if you insert your micro SD card into your computer, you can take the files of the Flipnote animations themselves and put that directly into the website and they'll export it at like a super good quality. Like look at how crisp this looks. Like man, it looks like pretty much one to one with like how it's supposed to work. It's so crispy and smooth. I love it. So that ended up working out really well. Um, Although that did end up making it a pain to where like every single time I finished a new avatar pose or a sketch, I would have to take it into. I would have to take my SD card out of my 3DS, put it into my computer, then put it through that website, and then save it into my folders, and then put into DaVinci Resolve, and then chroma key and green screen everything out, and then I could actually put in the animation. So it ended up just being a lot of work. That's the thing about this video. I went crazy with the editing for this because I realized, okay, this is going to be a very ambitious video. So I really want to just make this like my biggest editing project to date and just really get out all those creative juices that I had built up for like almost 2 years without doing much creative projects stuff. It wasn't originally meant to be like this. It wasn't originally going to be like somewhat simple compared to like the 2020 iteration. But eventually there's prolonged scenes like this, wherever there would just be like no interesting visuals I could show on screen. It would just be my avatar. So I was slowly like, okay, I don't want people to get bored while watching this. So I slowly got more and more like editing it to make it more visually entertaining. And then eventually I just realized, okay, this is getting ambitious. I might as well just go all out with it for such a big project. Um, but there was just so much stuff that I had to do for this video. Um, well, I mentioned earlier, any little sketch I would have to make two separate drawings of it to give it that wobbly effect, and then export it and all that stuff. So that was exhausting. I made this stupid decision to do that same wobbly effect with the text that I wrote in the video. You'll see, the whenever the titles introducing the animations show up, or like stuff like that, like I would do that wobbly effect with it to make it more visually interesting, but that's so hard to do. So not only does it take a lot of time to draw out, like write out each letter and then like make another frame and then trace over that to give it that wobbly effect. That takes a lot of time because they're doing the same thing twice. But you have to be extra careful when you're doing it with text because if it's too wobbly, you won't be able to read it. So God, that was so painful because I would have to like do it and then I'll like play back that animation loop and be like, "Oh man, I can't even read what that's saying." And then I have to start all over again. Pain, exhausting, my God. And I also did this really stupid thing where I wanted the frame rate for everything to be consistent, where it's kind of like that low frame rate look. So anytime I did keyframes on the animation, like right here, this sucked. So you'll see here, Wario. I did the keyframes to make him like move around the map and crop out all the words there. So, but when you do the motion like that, it would look way too smooth because it would look 60 frames per second, and that looks way too smooth compared to like the flip notes that are playing on screen that are like 20 frames per second or so. So what I ended up doing, I made the dumb decision of saying, okay, I want to make this like visually consistent where it's all like a lower frame rate. So what I did, I had to download VLC Media Player, and then I would export the clip I wanted from DaVinci Resolve, and then put that clip into VLC Media Player, and that would have an option to like export it at a lower frame rate. So I would export it that way at like 20 frames per second, like right here. I would make that in DaVinci Resolve at 60 frames per second, export that, put into VLC Media Player, and then export that with a lower frame rate, and then put it back into the editing of the video like that at that lower frame rate. Which, I mean, yeah, it looks consistently better with the visuals. It's kind of a nice little editing thing. But my God, it was just so much effort. There are so many little things in this video that took me so much time. Like that concept art right there, I had to find the original concept art in my room and then scan it with my dad's printer. That way I could have high quality digital scans. And I had to do that with all the different comics and like the profile pictures here. Like, I had to scan in multiple issues of Colin Universe and Hydrogen Man just so I could get scans of the characters that I wanted to talk about. And all that stuff. That's not even to mention some of the other editing stuff I did in this video. Like, the Ponyville theme, obviously. And right here, like, look at all this. I did that thing where, that was a picture I took of the new Super Mario Bros. Wii game case on my 3DS. Flipnote Studio 3D has an option where you can take a picture of something, and, it'll make it look like it was drawn in Flipnote. I never know how to describe it well, but you can kind of tell that I took a picture in Flipnote, and then it kind of, it's kind of like drawn in with that Flipnote line art. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. And I was actually going to do that with all of the visuals that I showed in the video. Like there's stuff like a Finding Dory poster, or like my Flipnote activity log, where in this video they end up just being like the original pictures of them, just like saturation turned down to be black and white. I had the idea of like, why don't I take 3DS pictures of all of them? That way they can all kind of look like their Flipnote things. But then I tried doing that with the Finding Dory poster, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is like, this is barely legible. Like you can barely tell what this is supposed to be. So I scrapped that idea pretty quickly. Although for some reason, for stuff like New Super Mario Bros. Wii and like the case for Batman Arkham Origins Wii U that'll show up later, I still ended up doing that with them. I don't know why. There wasn't really a point because now it looks visually inconsistent, which is the opposite of what I was trying to do at the time. Stupid, dumb. My God, I don't know why I did that. Hang on, I'm gonna need a drink of water.
Oh no, is that another animated series attempt? New movie mishaps was another different case like the Wario series because I actually
Anyways,
went out of my way to announce it.
yeah, there was
Also,
just
this
a
was
whole bunch of
another
editing stuff for
project
this.
announced from the Calco Animation
And I
team.
think what's most,
I know
I
you're
think one thing
familiar
that's
with
most
this
notable to
series,
talk
how it
about,
exists,
like
and
something
so
really
the
important I should have mentioned a
new
lot
movie
earlier.
mishaps was, as I described it, basically
I
four
was
animation
editing this
teams
whole video on a
working on
Surface
making
Pro
the series
laptop.
correctly. So
Those
the
laptops are
movie
mainly
will
just
come out,
built for
the movie
like,
will come out in
drawing or like just
August,
normal like
and
browsing the
also
web
for the
stuff. Like it's
Flipnote
not
section
really,
of my
it's
channel,
not built for
I
video
did
editing at
skip that
all.
animation due to camera
Um,
constraints because I literally
I didn't
couldn't
really
find the
consider
footage
that
to
at the
edit for the
time.
movie's release.
But once I
I ended up
got
putting the
to
scrapped animation into Calco
like the last
Animation
2 weeks of this
because
project,
while
I
the
was having
final product
so
was
much
in Calco
trouble like
Animation,
running
the final
DaVinci
product
Resolve
was
and
enhanced
like
with
actually editing
movie
this video
mishaps as a
because
series
it was
attempt.
having major
So
performance issues just
for
because
that series
Microsoft
attempt,
Surface
the
Pros are
movie
not
mishaps
built for video
were
editing.
honestly the only reason I didn't
Yeah, so I was having a
have
lot
any
of trouble,
plans
like
to release
huge
it.
frame rate problems. Like anytime I would play
However,
back anything in like the
I
preview
did
window, it would just be like
anticipate
such a low
well
frame rate that I can't even tell if my editing I did was
seeing it
right.
all, so I just
It was
went ahead and did
crashing
it.
a
This
lot,
also allowed me
and
to
I was losing a
release
lot
the
of
movie so
progress
quickly and
until I
efficiently.
turned on
I
autosave.
definitely wanted to make that series
Um,
because it capitalized on the hype
and it
and
was just really
popularity of the
worrying.
original
I
movie,
was
which
genuinely
ended up being
worrying near the end of
pretty
production
popular.
that like
So since I worked with
the
the
whole
animation
editing
team
file for
and
this
the
video
movie
could
series,
be
it just caused a
corrupted.
lot of stress.
And then I would
So
lose
for that
everything that I
reason,
had worked on for like
I got to the
3 months
point
because
where
this was a
I was
huge, ambitious
finally ready
project.
to commit.
And I was genuinely
So to
scared
my
that if I
audience,
like
scrapped the
worked
movie
on
for
this
now
video for
because
too much
hold
longer,
on to your hats
that it
because
was
you're
going to
about to
like
get
corrupt and then I would just
another
lose everything.
one.
Um, and lose all that time and energy I put into it. So that's why there's a couple things in this video that don't have as much polish because I thought about polishing them up, but I also didn't want to do that because I was really worried I was going to lose everything. I think it's most noticeable with the little boxes that come on screen to show like what the name of the background music is. And one's going to be showing up here in a moment after this animation finishes playing. Oh, I need to catch my breath.
That's right. It's the infamous
Right
episode 2
there.
of Battlefield
So
Ultra that was
that
televised
is,
February
you might notice
24th,
that's a little bit of a smoother frame
2020
rate
Batman.
than like some of the other motions I have in the video. And also the text that's in that box, it's not wobbly, it's just static text. I wanted to make it to where the text that's in the box is like wobbling, that way it looks nicer and more consistent with the rest of the
Initially, my
video.
plan for the series was to
Um,
launch its
but
release
whenever I
April
would do
9th,
that,
but Mario vs.
because I would
Sonic
have to
took me
take it
another
into
2 months
VLC
to
Media
animate,
Player
so
and
I
I
ended up
turned the frame rate
releasing
down
it
because
in
I wanted to have that
April.
consistent frame
So
rate.
what I had
But
finished
for some
was
reason, when I
the
plopped
infamous
down those
featured the biggest
changed frame
attention to
rates
detail that was
into the
never seen in
video,
Televies. These
whenever I
releases
would
not all
export the
original Battlefield
video,
videos, but
it would
these
just
are the
like
ones that I
anytime like the
identified
background
as
music
the ones
boxes
with the
would be on
weightiest
screen, it
content.
would just like
I
keep on
decided to release
flashing a
some of
media
these
offline
to
that
compromise
shows
the
up
quality to the point
whenever you're
that
using an editing software and like you delete a file that's in the video, it'll show up red on the timeline and just say media offline, please locate or something like that. But the weird thing was, it wasn't just like displaying that for the entire time. It was like flashing on and off to the point where it was like almost like in danger of giving you a
For that,
seizure.
Morgan probably would have appeared in the back or
And
something
like
like that.
so
Yeah, it's pretty obvious I spent
and
some time
because
on
it's
that,
flashing, like you can
especially
see
finding the
clearly
title shot
the
is
video is not
I really went
offline.
back to fix the
You can
quality
see it in the video,
because
but it would just keep on flashing like
you know,
that.
there's a reason it's in the series,
And for the life of
and
me,
it
I could
shouldn't
not
be.
figure out how to
And with
fix
that,
that.
let's have a teaser trailer from my
The
channel.
only thing that worked for me
Honestly,
was
the
just
video
deleting
itself
those
wasn't
and
that
using
bad.
like
I was
the
able to show quick spots in the video,
non-edited frame rate
but
version of it.
to have a little teaser for the
So,
future animation
because I was
series,
worried
the
about the
biggest
file corrupting, I was
attention
just like,
to
okay,
detail
I'm
was
just gonna bite
provided
the
by
bullet. This
Sonic
isn't
and
gonna look as
Tails.
polished, but
So I hope you all enjoyed that
I
one.
don't want these
After
3 months
that
to go to waste. So
animation
I
was
just
done
ended up,
today, and after
I
that I
sucked it
never
up.
touched the project again. And
Excuse me, I
Mario vs.
sucked it
Sonic
up and
showed
just
me
went
what I
with
could
it.
scrap due to how long it
Um,
would take. Mario vs. Sonic took me an entire
yeah,
month to animate at the
like
time,
to an
and
extent,
honestly
I'm
that was
somewhat unhappy with that
so
because it's like, I really wish I just taken a little more
yeah, I
time.
definitely planned on
But
making
I
the
also
series
get
before
it.
its release.
That project was just my
Before
life
that,
for
though,
like
I
three
decided to
months.
work on Battle
So
Royale
if I
Championship
lost all
because
that
I
progress,
knew I would have to cut out a lot of
I would
quality
probably just
time.
cry.
Plus, I had a lot more fun working on smaller scale
That would have been
assets
rough.
like
So
characters
I
and
get
environments
I
that
get why I
involved a
did that.
variety of different ideas
Um,
and
and
content
another
elements.
little weird
So
exporting
with
quirk
that,
with this
let's move
video
on.
was that you'll notice some of the Flipnote animations, like especially for Ponyville when I'm showing off the original animation for that. You might see some like weird rendering artifacts on it, like especially like some little black bars in the corner. They show up a couple times when I'm just showing off the original animations. I don't know the exact reason they cause that. They only seem to happen with like animations and drawings like this. But for whatever reason, DaVinci Resolve will just do that if you export a video. And I found out like months later when I was working on a different video that the only way to fix that is there's an option in the export settings called frame reordering. And if you turn that off, that just fixes it. I have no idea what that means, why it's a thing, or why DaVinci has that problem. But eventually I learned, oh hey, that's what that problem was. Cool. That's nice to know now. Um, and that was a problem that frustrated me in like the last couple days I was working on this video because it was giving those artifacts off, and I was like, man, how do I fix this? I just don't like how that looks. But again, did not want to lose all my progress, and it wasn't that big of a deal because it only showed up on like two of the animations. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'll just deal with it. It's no big deal. So yeah, it kind of sucks that now that I know how to do it, I could have just now it's like, oh man, I that could have been an easy fix. It's not something that was like impossible to fix. Um, but I've already said it already a lot before. Did not want to lose everything. But yeah, it was very relieving to finally get this video out, and I'm very proud of it still, even to this day. I think as of right now, this is probably still like my magnum opus, like the biggest project I've ever made that I'm very proud of. Partially that's just because like for the last 2 years I've only been working on archiving my old videos, so I haven't really had like any chance to like make something that's better than this. But don't worry, I'm planning on it. I'm hoping I can finish. I'm hoping I can like finish that before the end of 2024, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm still really proud of this video. It was a pain to work on at the time, but at least the final result ended up being something I'm really proud of. Like I sent it to my friends when I was finished with it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that was a good video, Colin." So that made me very happy that all that time was worth it. And I do have like kind of nostalgic memories of we went to Disney World as a family like a week after this video came out. That's also part of the reason why I was trying to rush this video out near the end because I did not want to have that hanging over me during Disney World. I just wanted to have it done and out of the way. So I just kind of have nice memories of just like in Disney World, like when like we're just waiting in line, just checking my YouTube stats and being like, oh hey, this video is still getting views. Because this video, out of all the archive projects I had posted up to that point, it was like the most successful one I had. Later on, whenever I uploaded more videos, like I had ones that were way surpassing it. But at the time, it was just nice to know, hey, that hard work paid off. Like it's getting views and like stuff like that, views and likes from like people I don't even know. That's so it was just very rewarding to finally have that finished. It does kind of suck though that this video like just a few months later this video technically became outdated because when I was cleaning out my room and all my papers and stuff, I actually found a script for the Untitled Adventure series, and it turns out that it wasn't even untitled. It had a name. It was going to be called, I guess, Jagon Adventures. Terrible name, I know, but yeah, I found the script and I actually had the specific dialogue that was going to be said in those animations I started, and even the cast of the characters. Like apparently, my friend Peter was going to be voicing the main hero, and I was going to be voicing the wizard. So yeah, that's nice, important. That's cool information to find out. But it really sucks that I found that out after this video because technically now that part of the series, that part of the video where I talk about the Untitled Adventure series, it's out of date and not completely accurate because I found more stuff about it. No, what a shame. Um, but other than that, and other than just like small little nitpicks, like the exporting problems, that was just stuff that like I was too scared to try to change it and fix at the time. Other than that, I still think this video is really good. Um, Honestly, this is probably the first video I've ever worked on where I can look back at this like 2 years later and still be happy with how it turned out. Because I'm very self-critical about my own work. But this one, like honestly, don't have many complaints about it. Well, actually, the audio is pretty bad. Because I was recording that in my closet with my Apple headphones. I had to learn audio editing to figure out how to make it sound good. That sucked. But other than that, still pretty proud of this one. Very like, man, it feels so corny to say monumental creative project for me, but it really is. It was really a big stepping stone that really got me back into the swing of things with like my creative process. And hey, I'm almost done with this archive project. This is actually one of the last things I have to record. I'm hoping to have all the rest of these behind the scenes and archive stuff uploaded like in the next 2 weeks or so. So hey, it's the end of a chapter maybe. And this one was kind of the start of it. Don't really know what I'm saying, but yeah, good video, still proud of it. Here's to the future.